the Xbox showcase, there was a ton of new information about Starfield, which is coming in 2023, but they won't give a month. To be fair, it is still in development. We're going to talk about how this looks from the perspective of a Star Citizen backer and somebody who's played a ton of different games. And let's try to compare them and see what this game is and is not. So, Starfield is one of those games that kind of hails from the days of Skyrim, Fallout, in particular. Fallout 4 is what a lot of people keep comparing it to, but honestly, I see it as the entire Fallout series can be kind of mixed in with the elements and gameplay that you can see when they talk about this game. Todd Howard spoke about having up to 1,000 planets that are, I'm assuming, procedurally generated. However, in an IGN interview right after this, he says that they had the most handcrafting of the worlds that they've ever had in any of their universes, which I don't know what to make of that. Based on their own trailers, they show a lot of character development, a lot of background, a lot like, for example, when you're setting yourself up in Fallout. And I also had vibes of the world, the areas you physically want to be at, that are populated or have relics to explore or fights to be had, these exciting places that are really where the quests are going to take you, and the environments and the factions are going to be fighting over. The environments that the factions will fight over is something of almost like the Division. It was just kind of a weird comparison. Okay, sure, the Ubisoft game, which was actually a lot of fun, where you could walk around all these blocks of the city, sure, but really you're just on your way to something else. You're on your way to this fight. You're on your way to defend this area. You're on your way to explore what happened to this group of people, through the investigation system and the echoes and such, and fixing comm grids, which a lot of this is you can see. Now, you didn't build bases in most of these games. That's kind of a Fallout 4 trait. I can't really comment on building a base. I don't know quite what the level of that is going to be in the game yet. We just saw that little preview. It seems like a nice base builder. Bethesda knows how to make base building systems very, very useful. And I think it'll be good also for machinima. I can see this game, even though it's single player, I can see a team kind of making little bits and pieces, make a couple different characters, make a couple different bases, build out different ships, which, yes, you can build your own ships. And I can't really comment on that either. Because what are you going to do with the ships? So once again, the Todd Howard interview with IGN said, he compared it to the days of MechWarrior and the type of aerial combat that you would see in those type of games in the BattleTech and the MechWarrior universe, which is rather small, little rail shooter type gameplay. And you'll see it in a minute that there is this loading screen that occurs in orbit. That's something else that has been signaled by the Bethesda team. They said that surveys said that people don't mind loading screens when it exits Atmo. So that is something, if we're going to compare to Star Citizen, there is no loading screens in Star Citizen of this type. However, there is this type of loading in of different objects as you get closer to them. And that is something that is getting better and better over time. But there is going to be absolutely no like cut to black, fade to black type scenario, whereas this game is going to have those. Furthermore, this game has to be built to work on consoles like Xbox. And I'm curious about how that's going to look. I think of games like ED and Star Citizen, which, ED did have console work, but it was a complex game, and really it was best played on the PC. As somebody who played ED, I can tell you I couldn't even imagine trying to work all those complex controls on a console. I just couldn't do it, especially in PvP. And I don't think this game will have that issue, at least, of the PvP advantage of people with HOTAS or full keyboard and mouse and really know how to flick those keys, and all those different hot controls. And I can tell you, even with like 6 function keys, ED is still difficult. In Star Citizen, when you look at the key controls of your flight mechanics, there's an Alt key because there's so many different controls. In HOTAS, it's a whole nother ballgame. I'm curious about how Starfield is going to focus on flight, and I just don't think it will. I think it's going to be an on-rail shooter with loading screens like you're now on an asteroid field. Then you load again and you're outside of a planet. You fight your way through the two pirate ships, the Crimson Guard or whatever they're called, and then you load screen again into the actual side of the planet where there's a planetary landing location like you see here. These beautiful shots that remind me a lot of Skyrim. I can't help but wonder what's the point of the rest of the planet. This is the part where he's saying there's 1,000 planets. Plain and simple, that's what he says. There's 100 systems, I think, 1,000 planets, and they're all owned by different factions. Don't get me wrong. I will play this game. I'm going to enjoy the heck out of it. I'm a huge Fallout fan. To a certain extent, a Skyrim fan. I'm more of VR on Skyrim. They have not said yet, at least based on the interview and going through I think it was 5 different trailers they put up on this showcase with little quips by Howard between them, that there will or will not be VR. So that is one thing I really hope they commit to, is releasing VR for this game. As a single-player game, I think it's great. In the past, Bethesda has done Fallout 4 VR and also Skyrim VR, but they were separate products that you had to pay the full price for. And yes, they go on sale, but that's not the point. Also, they took years later to come out. I hope that they don't try to play that game if they release this game in 2023 and then they spend the rest of 2024 developing for VR and then charging full price for that again. So I guess this is the part of the video where I should just really cut into should you or should you not buy Starfield. I believe that if you're a Fallout fan or a Skyrim fan and you're okay with spacesuits, go for it. I believe that if you are a Star Citizen fan or an ED fan, I believe that you should go for it. I don't think you should pre-order at all, full stop. We have seen the tradition with Bethesda to kind of release things like Fallout 76 with major issues, and then they kind of fix the system months later. I think you should wait. Same with Cyberpunk, by the way, which is a different company. CD Projekt Red had to do immense amounts of redo on that. Although, to be fair, I did pre-order that and enjoyed the dumpster fire that it was at first, and then it became a great game later, to a certain extent. And also only if you have a really good PC. I'm going to go into that in a minute as well. But I'm comparing this game to a single-player games to try to be as fair as possible. So I can't compare it to their Fallout 76 experience. I can't compare it to Star Citizen or ED because they're literally a different genre. This is an exploration game that's an adventure mode of a single-player experience. And pending, of course, unless they drop like a co-op mode as a surprise last final feature, which they keep dancing around all the feature list. Pending that, I have to only weigh it against other games like that. So I compare it to Fallout 4. I compare it to Fallout 3. I compare it to the Lord and Savior that is the Fallout New Vegas series. And I count the mods and the expansions as like their own things. So I think that these type of games, I see this game as a refreshing new take on this world. And yes, I do get the pangs of Skyrim. I do not compare it to the Skyrim game. It's just too futuristic for that. There isn't magic in this game. There isn't this environment. The closest we get is the relic system that you see in some of these trailers. And they're heavily implying like there's some type of like Contact style orb, like that movie Contact in the book, where she travels through space or something through like some type of jump drive system, which they already have 100 different systems they visit. So I'm not quite sure what it'll do, but that's kind of the fun of it, is that you build this ancient relic of an alien past and you discover that alongside the Constellation, or I guess fight against them. There's multiple different factions. They did include pirate factions. So if you are a nefarious type, just like in the Fallout games, you can certainly side with the other groups. And I strongly feel that you'll enjoy it. You can see here they have like mining in the game that is a lot like games like Satisfactory or in Star Citizen, but I don't see it as like copying them. I think so many games have done this already that as long as it's done right, and the crafting system they also bring up alongside the mining system are solid, I'm fine with it. Absolutely fine with it. In fact, I feel that does give the game a little bit of depth that it really badly needs. The starting backgrounds and stuff that only give you like plus 10 to damage of this type or plus minus 5 damage of this type are really kind of mediocre, and I hope they fix that. I would like to see more unique modifiers and also a lot of modifiers and changes you can make in research and development of different weapons and armors and technologies and tools, because that'll help with replay value. Do I commit my resources to this type of technology and risk not having enough damage output, or do I build up this lack of science and just go pure melee? Like Fallout is like a good example. But there's also some other interesting factors. You can see right there that the main character pulls out a rifle, uses up all the ammo, and then instead of having to suffer the reload changes, they simply just change guns to a shotgun and blow them away. I think these little mini games add some depth, but I just can't help but think about if there is no consequences for reloading. It kind of makes the player basically this unstoppable juggernaut that can constantly go around and just take out as much as they want. I made some comparisons earlier on to The Division. I do feel it's a lot like that, where you can switch between primary weapons very quickly and hide behind different cover and mechanics and really, really roll around. And there's just waves and waves of enemies. That is where Fallout is going to be different. I think that Fallout, plain and simple, is supposed to be a game where you fight against a group of people, very small group, and it's very dangerous. It's very scary. In this game, you're wearing a dang spacesuit. One shot to that helmet in the wrong place, or hitting an air hose or something, and you're going to be suffocating out there. Like, you're going to have to repair that while you're taking cover, and you're going to have some other folks covering you. I hope there's a companion system in this game, and I hope that they have some type of survival mechanics like that. You shouldn't be some unstoppable juggernaut unless you choose to build that way, and then there's consequences for building that way. Like, for example, you won't be able to do a lot of science work and research and development because you're so busy building out this huge freaking weapon suit. And everywhere you go, everybody's outright hostile to you because they don't trust you, because you could take out half their damn town. That should be some of the mechanics that we have at play nowadays. AI should be smart enough to figure out those things. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I will, of course, be picking this game up and playing it a good amount. And I see it as another one of those like moonshots like Cyberpunk. I do not see it as a, what did somebody say? Fallout in space, I think I heard from a buddy on Discord. I don't see it as that. You got your Skyrim shot like you just saw. It just, you got your knockoff ArcCorp from Star Citizen or Blade Runner, if you will. But I just don't see it as something that is outright competing with these other games. Plain and simple, if you're willing to budget for the buy the game, or you have an Xbox Game Pass, which makes it free, by the way, try it out. Do not pre-order this thing. Just don't. Most games I would suggest that about. It's not picking on this game. But I think for a single player experience, it's going to be a lot of fun. I think if anybody knows how to make a game world really exciting and interesting, it's Bethesda, or at the very least, they know who to hire to do so, like in the New Vegas example. And I certainly think that this game will be. Thank you for coming out. As always, the rights to this is all Bethesda. It was their stream. I'm going to include in the background here a little jump audio I really liked, and I thought it was really neat how they did the acting on this one. Yeah, so I'll catch you on the next one. As soon as we get another update about Starfield, I'll be sure to make another video. If you have any comments, please comment below. I'll gladly talk your ear off about how I feel about it. And just know there is room in this world for a lot of great games, Starfield included, alongside ED, alongside Star Citizen, and these other wonderful games. Thank you all, and a wonderful, wonderful day.